Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today is a young lady I had the pleasure of meeting probably about a year and a half ago now on another podcast that it was my very first podcast that I was ever a guest on, and she was one of the hosts at that time. I've been checking her out, following her along. She's doing some incredible things. She's a CEO. She's a financial coach. She's a proud aunt. And most importantly, she's a woman of God. And she's taking time out of her busy schedule to hang out with us for a little while to just to share a little bit about her journey and her experiences in dealing with adversity and overcoming challenging moments with the hope of inspiring and encouraging and uplifting other people who are going through similar challenges and things like that in life. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you Miss Anna C. Anna, thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, no. Thank you for sharing your platform with me. That really means a lot.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So this was an easy choice to connect with you. I was just hoping, that you would have availability because I know you're very, very busy doing all kind of things, and so I'm excited to hear more of your story and your journey, and I'm sure you're going to be a blessing to someone this evening in the sharing of what you have to pour into us. So, with that said, before we jump into our segments, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. This is what I do. Just kind of give our audience a little bit of taste of who is Anna C.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you already gave me a gracious welcome. You said almost everything there is to know. I am a woman of God. I'm a super proud auntie. I love my nieces and my nephews. They are an extension of me. Outside of that, I am a foodie. I think my biggest habit is I love cooking and going out to eat and experiencing new things. But when it comes to who is Anna C., what I do, I help people grow, save, and make more money by teaching them how to create wealth. I love doing that. I love being in the educational space, being able to teach financial literacy. I am a regional vice president. I am an agency operator where I'm able to help people with a long list of products and services, things like that. But the biggest and most important thing that I'm the most proud of outside of being an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, the biggest thing that I'm proud of is that I have a space where I can help teach and help other people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing. And anybody that follows you knows anything about you, and of course, they're going to learn some more about you for those who don't know. But I'm telling you firsthand, I've been following your journey, and you're doing some great and awesome things. Moving along pretty fast on top of that. So the accomplishments are coming, and that's nothing but God's anointing on you. You're walking in your purpose, and you can't do anything but celebrate that. So I'm happy for you and excited for what still the future has in store for you. So with that said, let's jump right in. We want to get to know you a little bit more. So
Let's
um,
do it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I'm a firm believer that when we talk about our journeys in life, our stories, in order for you to really get the full essence of what it all entails, what it's all about, it's really important that we go back to the beginnings of it all in order to get a sort of a foundational basis as to, again, where does my journey begin? Where did it all start to begin to come together early on? And so that's what we're going to do right now. So if you would take a moment to reflect back on, coming up as a kid, growing up, kind of share with us what was it like for you coming up, fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there was any particular challenges that come to mind in that period of time in your life. Please feel free to share those as well. Kind of give us that backdrop of what the beginnings look like for you.
Oh, yes. Like, I love reflecting back. I'm very sentimental. And as I get older, I think back to things that happened in my childhood. And I was like, man, it all kind of makes sense now. So I am a child of three. I'm the middle baby, right? So humble beginnings, growing up as a middle child, you always kind of feel like the underdog. I got all the hand me downs, right? And sometimes I got ignored because I had a baby brother who got all the attention. But I had a great childhood. I was surrounded by love. I love my mother. She's an educator. She means the world to me. And although we had some challenges growing up, she also had a tremendous help from my grandparents. So they were like a second set of parents for me. So people say, Anna, you have such an old soul. Well, I got an older mom, and I was raised by my grandparents, and me and my first cousins, we were raised like siblings. So family means a lot to me. And I just remember being around this big group of people and feeling like the black sheep, kind of feeling like the runt. And I'm like, where do I kind of fit in here? Because I love my family, but I felt like the oddball. I didn't quite
Mm,
look like anybody. I wasn't athletic. I couldn't really sing that well. And I said, well, what is my gift? What's my talent? Especially like coming from an educated household. My mom's super educated. Everybody in my family went to college. I was the only one who did it.
mm.
So I really struggled growing up trying to figure out where do I fit in? What's my gift? What's my purpose? And I did have some challenges, but I think all of those things kind of helped me become the person I am today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I appreciate your transparency in sharing that, as well as just, the whole reminiscing piece of it all. I'm like you as well in that sense of, just reflecting back on what you like to think about the good times of coming up. And I love the family aspect that you spoke to, everything from not only your love for mom. I was very close to my mom, and then of course, when you have cousins that are like siblings to you, and then of course definitely the grandparent element in it. Just that whole community of family. A lot of times when you have that network around you, even during challenging times, if the money is tight or things of that nature going on, you don't really think about that as much because of that love and that camaraderie of family being around you. And I like the fact too that you pointed out. You know what, I didn't always feel like I was that I knew where my space was, my place was, what was my purpose, what was I felt like I was sort of the outsider, if you will. Even though the love was there, you were searching at an early age, trying to figure out like, where do I fit in? And the reality is there's a lot of people who go through that, not only in childhood, but even in adulthood. Like, where do I fit in? And this is why, conversations like this are so important. And I also love the fact that you highlighted, that, I never went to college. And, because some people will automatically assume that, if you don't go to college, then that automatically means, you're going nowhere. And again, um, knowing what I do know about you and what I'm still going to learn about you, clearly college was not the end of your story. Just the fact that just because you didn't go, it didn't mean that you didn't have a future ahead of you. It didn't mean that you didn't have an opportunity to impact change and in the lives of people. So, just to reemphasize that to anybody that might be tuning in and thinking that maybe because I didn't go to college or maybe I wasn't the best student in school or whatever the situation was, that doesn't automatically guarantee because you perhaps have heard this term. There's a lot of folks out there that they refer to as educated fools who got all the degrees and the accolades,
Yes.
but and it looks good on paper. It's a good talking point to share. But again, if you don't know what your purpose is, or if you have all this education and you're not doing anything with it of meaning or substance, then what good is it anyway? You just got it just for the bragging rights of saying that you have it. So, but you've taken what God has given you, and you've made and you've worked to make the most of it, and you're continuing to build upon that. So I appreciate you sharing that. Um, so I'd like to go a little bit deeper with you. Of course, when you're coming up, as you stated, we reflect on those good times and fun moments and even some of the challenges. But as you get older, you begin to live life and experience more things coming your way, some good, some a little rough along the way. But over time, if you live long enough, you're going to reach a point where there will be experiences that cross your path that hit a little different. That when you're facing that moment of challenge or adversity, you might find yourself doubting. Even if you're a very confident and diligent person and working through stuff, every now and then we get hit with a storm that's a little heavier than the normal. And we may be questioning, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to overcome this? This is way too much for me. I don't see a way out. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, whatever that means in that particular context of the story. So, with that said, I'm curious to know if you would share with us a time when you found yourself in that type of moment where you didn't see a way out. You weren't sure how you were going to get up out of that particular storm that you find yourself in. Obviously, you're here today, so we can feel confident in that God had His hand on you and navigated you through that storm. But perhaps even at that time, though, you might have not been seeing it that way. So if you would share with us, what was that experience like for you in the story that you're about to share, and what was ultimately that moment where you began to see a light at the end of the tunnel, where you were coming up out of that storm?
Right. You said something when you said doubt. And the moment I heard that word, I just went back and I reflected on I really struggled with self-doubt.
Mm,
It played a major part in my life. So not a lot of people know growing up, initially I was mute. And so to some, that is a learning disability, right? They
mm,
call it delayed speech impediment. And so I didn't speak at all for the first 3 to 4 years of my life. I didn't make noise. I just
mm,
looked at people, right? And there wasn't a cause for this, but for some reason, I just didn't have anything to say at that moment. So my early childhood years, I remember my baby brother going to school and I stayed home because I was special, right?
mm,
That's what they used to say. Well, she's a little different. And so I grew up with this idea that I was different, right? And so I had to go through speech therapy. I took some special classes. And what we do in the school systems, sometimes we label and diagnose our children, right? And
mm,
so they put this label on me. And I know some people are familiar with LD, with
mm,
special ed. And if you're a kid, that could feel so embarrassing, right? That you're an outcast, that you may learn differently, that you may need some special attention. And so I carried a lot of shame through grade school and even through high school because the way I learned was a little bit different. I just needed a little more attention. I'm a hands-on kind of learner, right? But I know that I remember being in high school and I would be like, Lord, please don't let my special ed coach come in here. I didn't want people to see me walking down the hallway to the special ed class, right? Because I felt like I would get teased, I would get janked. And so for so long, I carried this label on myself until the point I started believing that I was different and kind of less than. And so when you have this self doubt, sometimes you don't try as hard.
yeah.
Sometimes you just go ahead and say, well, I can't do those things because of this is what people tell me I am. And so if you start believing what other people put on you versus what the Lord tells you, sometimes you'll stay in the wrong space. So I just remember I had a come to Jesus meeting and I said, special or not, I'm going to make this thing work. So I started studying on my own. I started doing things on my own. And I just, any challenge that I could give myself, I started going for it. And sometimes you'll have people who love you and they'll try and prevent you from getting hurt. So they'll put their fears on you. So
Mm,
I just remember times when I wanted to try out for the choir, and my mom was like, I don't think you should do it. I wanted to try out for the Scholar Bowl team. And even when I joined the Army, people were like, do you think you really can do that? And so I just made a decision myself. I'm going to go for it. What's the worst that can happen? And in that moment, I just realized that if God gives me the idea, then there's no way I can't do it. He's not going to give me a vision that I can't fulfill. And
mm,
so anything that I put my mind to, I end up excelling in. But you know, sometimes we still go through storms, even as adults. Because I remember overcoming a lot of challenges in school. So obviously, I got out of school. I graduated with honors, right? I even went to college for a little while and I even joined the military and served for a little while. I have a lot of accomplishments. But when I got into the workforce, I kind of got comfortable where I was. I was very good in my position. I worked in the food industry and management over 18 years,
mm,
even in a corporate setting. But I got to a certain level and there was no more growth. There was a lid put on top of me. And I just remember people saying, you should be happy where you are. How many other people your age are doing what you're doing? as if there was nothing more for me to do. And so sometimes I started having those limiting beliefs again. When people say things like, well, Anna, you don't have a degree. Where can you go and make this kind of money?
Hmm.
I was making six figures at an early age. I was 20 years old. I made over six figures working in the food industry, managing multiple restaurants. And that's the kind of things my upline corporate would tell me. There's nowhere else you can go and make this kind of money. There's no one else your age. You should be happy where you are. And I just declared, I just remember saying, I'm a woman of impact. I'm a woman of influence. And I feel that there's so much more I can be doing. And I have a capacity to do more. So I wanted to get out of a space that was limiting me because I knew I was meant to touch more people. And I
Mm.
want someone to know that you can serve in any space and in any capacity because I still love food. I still love the food industry, but I really love helping people. I love coaching people. I like helping people reach their dreams. And so it was a big challenge when I decided to walk away from a high earning job. I didn't really know what was on the other side with entrepreneurship, but I just knew the Lord wouldn't keep telling me to go and not provide. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, overcoming self doubt, like limiting belief. That can be a biggest challenge. Biggest challenges come within our mind. And if we can tackle those things, you really can overcome anything.
Wow. What a powerful, powerful story you just shared. And I'm getting blessed already just hearing you speak to this. You know, whew, you just said a word. That's I'm almost speechless for a moment, but um, it's interesting. There's a few takeaways from your story. I love the fact that how you. Well, first off, I love the fact that, again, with your transparency and talking about, you know, here I was, identified as being mute, got a late start in actually speaking, being labeled. We see that all the time, being labeled whenever you have something going on with you. Oh, you're automatically, LD, special ed, ADHD, whatever. So whether you're getting classified that way, whether you're, in some instances, we know kids who get, medicated, because of that, and then there's this automatic lid, if you will, as you stated, this barrier that's placed around you. Well, this is all that they're going to be able to do, and it's so difficult for you if you're not careful. It can be very difficult for you to not resist embracing, as you said, embracing those fears and those limitations that other people are putting on you. They're not even giving you a chance to show anything different. Like, well, we just accept it, and that's just how it is, and that's just how it's going to be. But I love the fact that you didn't allow, and you identified that at a very early age, that you didn't allow those limitations to be placed upon you. People can say what they wanted to say, but you had made up in your mind that, no, I don't receive that. I don't accept that. I know I'm capable of doing much more. I might have to work a little bit harder at it. I might have to, take a different route in terms of the manner in which I grasp whatever that information is, whatever that learning is. But I'm gonna figure that thing out. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I love the fact that you refuse to quit. Because so many of us, when it gets a little tough, when it gets a little challenging, we're ready to wave the white flag. We're ready to throw in the towel, and just give up. And you didn't do that. And that's just so impressive. And then fast forwarding into your career, you talked about, hey, I got off to an early start in my career in the food industry and was doing well, six figures at an early age. And like you said, that's very impressive, especially being, young like that and doing so well. And just what you spoke to, it's so common, it's so regular how you get to making a little money, we get a little title, and we get comfortable. We get relaxed, and we get settled, and not realizing that we're stunting our growth when we do that, that we're limiting our ability to impact because we've
Mhm.
allowed the numbers on the paycheck and the and the title to get us, in that relaxed mode. And then and then you talked about the employer, like, you should be happy with this. This is great that what you're doing, almost as if they're speaking to you, like as if they're trying to say something positive to you, but really you're speaking negativity into my life to suggest that I should be okay with this. And unfortunately, a lot of times when companies do that, they're really doing it not so much for your benefit, they're doing it for their benefit. They see your value and they want you to embrace that comfortable mindset, because that means I can benefit off of you for a long period of time. You can make me more money. You can put me in a position where I look good, and earn me bonuses and promotions and things like that off of your back, while you get comfortable and settled into just accepting, just being okay, just being where you're at. And so, it's huge for you to make a decision and say, you know what? I know the money's good, the title might be good. I enjoy what I do, but there's so much more. And if I've reached out, I've capped out my space here. I need to step out on faith. I need to go beyond these walls and do something that's going to allow me again to ultimately walk into my purpose. And with that said, I do want to touch on that, because that's a decision that many entrepreneurs, and I specifically say entrepreneurs because I believe there's a difference between entrepreneurs and business people. When you're an entrepreneur, a vision has
Right.
been placed upon you, and it's big, and it can even get scary. It can be a little overwhelming. It's going to look like something you can't do. There's no way you're going to make this happen. But yet God placed a vision on your heart. So I'm curious to know, when you finally made that decision, like, what was it? What was kind of going through your mind? What was that breakthrough moment where you said, you know what? It's time to go. Like, walk me through that moment when you decided it's time to go, not knowing what was going to happen. I'm walking away from this comfortable. Know what I got here, the money and all of that. I'm getting ready to go out on my own to do my own thing with no guarantees or anything. What was that? Walk me through that experience for you.
It can definitely be scary, but I'm so glad that I journal so I can reflect back on where was I in that moment. And so the thing about God is he'll send confirmation. And so something that I pray regularly, what I ask for is, can you calm my thoughts so that I can better hear you? Because I don't want him always having to knock me out
Right,
to
right, right.
tell me what he's trying to tell me, right? But he will send confirmation. Sometimes it will be through people, events, and things will happen in your life that are big red flags that you should pivot. And if you're not listening, each one will be a little stronger. I just remember making good money, having a title. At that point, I was called a district supervisor in operations. And so I was training people to be my superior. And
Mm-hmm.
that just made no sense to me that I've trained all these people to be my superior. And I remember that there's a process with this company where you can apply for promotion. And so what they do, they interview you and you either qualify for the promotion or you don't, right? And if you don't, they'll tell you what you need to work on. I applied, and just imagine being qualified. They can't tell you anything that you're doing wrong, but yet you're constantly overlooked, right? So that was the first sign. I'm being overlooked. And at that point, I didn't feel valued. And when I'm praying, I was asking to be in a space where I can be impactful and I can be a person of value. Like I want to be a person of value. But I do remember ultimately, it wasn't the income, it wasn't the title. What I really wanted was more freedom. I remember my mom was diagnosed with cancer. I didn't really know what that was going to look like for her or for our family, but I knew I wanted to be there for her more than just financially. And so having a high level, high stress job, working 6 days a week, weekends and holidays, on call 24/7, I had already lost my grandmother, who was like a mother to me. I had already lost my brother cousin to violence. And so my priorities started to shift. I feel that spending time with my family will always mean more to me than income. So I decided, I'm going to be here for my mom. I don't really know what it looks like on the other side. I had started my business part time. I had done a couple of things, entrepreneurship. I created my own journal. I created a manifestation journal. I created a productive planner and a money book. And in this journal that I created for myself, it's focused on self reflection. It's focused on words of affirmation, and it digs deep so that you can be the better version of yourself. And before I published my journal, I used it for myself,
Mm,
right? And I said, I see a different life for myself. And I would write out the things that I wanted to do, the things that I wanted to accomplish, the person I wanted to be. And I put it on paper. And I saw that with each step, I was being more and more of that person. And so I just decided to walk away from that job. I really didn't know what my income was going to look like. But you know what? God is always good and He always provides. And so that's when I walked away, more doors started opening. I started flourishing in my business, where in food, it took me nearly 12 years to become a district, and I stayed at that position for 6 years. When I opened my agency, when I became fully licensed, it took me 8 months to become a vice president of a Fortune 1000 company. No degree.
mm, mm,
And
mm.
and it's nothing that I did. It's just God working through me. So I just continue to ask Him to speak to me. I try to be obedient. And I just realized that if I become a blessing to others, I'll get blessed in return. So I put a heavy emphasis on teaching, educating, and, showing people you can have family values and income. And it's just been up from there.
Love that. Love that. And I love how you just highlighted. It took me 12 years to get there. I spent 6 years doing it, but then I leave and it take me 8 months just stepping out on faith and doing my own thing. It took me 8 months to get to the same heights and actually exceed beyond that significantly.
Higher
Yeah,
vice president.
right.
And
That's
isn't that
crazy.
crazy?
I mean,
And
well, and when we say crazy to my listening audience, when we say crazy, we say that lightly. But what we really is saying, ain't that God? Ain't that just how He is? Ain't that just how He does? Because that's a God move. That is a God move all day long. You couldn't tell this story to the average person without them giving you the side eye, like she lying. There's no way that. First of all, there's no way that she even had the previous position, and then there's no way that she was crazy enough to walk away from that, and then in 8 months was doing better than what she was doing for 18 years. Told from the beginning to the end of that, she's doing exceedingly beyond that in an 8 month time frame, and she has no degree. How does that work? Surely she
yes,
must know
I always
somebody.
tell
She's got
people,
to hook up. She's got to no. She's just doing God's will. She's just walking in her purpose. She's trusting. She's leaning into God's understanding, His direction, His guidance, and He's saying, you do that part, I'll take care of the rest. And you are a living example. And that's what makes your story so special. And like I said, not just for my listeners, but for me. I'm just hearing this and that, as you spoke to, that confirmation of some things, that's letting you know what you're thinking, what you're pondering on. This is not by accident. This is not by mistake. This interview is not by accident or mistake. This is supposed to happen for me and for those who are going to tune in, because you were in some truly powerful God moments that we just cannot take lightly. We cannot just brush over. This is the real deal. This is what a relationship with God looks like, and this is what happens from that. And then of course the freedom piece. Understanding the value in the freedom. Not so much just I want to be free to spend and do whatever I can do financially, but understanding the freedom of just, you know, in your case, I want to be around my family, my mom, and others. I want to be able to have the freedom to impact people. I can't impact the same way in that structure. I'll make more money in the old structure, maybe. I'll have more comfort level and more security in that setup, but I won't be able. But I'll be restricted at the same time, and I gotta break up out of that. I got to create a setting to where there are no boundaries. The possibilities are infinite, if you will. When I say no boundaries, I mean not so much that I wild out and do whatever I want to do, but possibilities being infinite in terms of my reach, in terms of impact, in terms of influence, in terms of changing lives. Very, very powerful that you share that, and I'm just impressed. I'm impressed, and I'm just taking it all in because that's just a wonderful, wonderful testimony about what it means to just trust God and know that I wouldn't place this. When I say God would not place that vision on you if He didn't already have it worked out. The victory is already worked out. It's already worked out. Yes, there are going to be some steps on the way. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort on your part. You might even encounter some obstacles, as I'm sure you have. You're going to encounter some obstacles along the way, but you're not going to have to face them by yourself. That's the beauty in knowing I'm not in this alone. He's with me. He knows that this vision is too big for just one person to handle. He's going to make sure that He's there for you, and He's going to make sure that you have a team that is built around you to help you do all the things. You can't be 1,000 different places all at the same time. So, He's going to make sure you don't
Right.
burn out as you build, so love that. Love that so much. Thank you so much for that. Um, so with that said, and you've touched on this a little bit, and I'm sure this will probably be a part of what you say, but I'm just for clarification purposes, when you do find yourself, faced with challenging times, adverse moments, again, whether it's something really major or even if it's just the day to day lifing type stuff that we deal with. I'm curious to know from you, what process, what regiment do you like to follow that just kind of helps you to stay centered, to stay focused as you're dealing with working through adversity and challenging moments? What is that routine that you like to go through that works best and is most effective for you in moments like that?
What I found to be most effective is journaling. I feel that there's power in our words. And so I love affirmations. And I definitely believe that we can manifest the life of our dreams. And when I say the life of our dreams, it's really already predestined. I remember writing something in my journal. I wrote down, God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the people He calls. And so whenever I feel like my dream's too big or it's out of reach, I remember that He's going to make me qualified for this space, for this position, for this challenge. And I just remember that I like to write. And so every day I'll write something positive in my journal, and I like to go back and reflect. I like when I create my vision boards because it reminds me of what I'm working towards, but it's also a reminder of where I came from. And I feel like it's important that we take time for ourselves because just as hard as I work and I grind, I value my peace. I value my rest because you need those things to be energized to keep on going. So I'm definitely a person who does positive affirmations. I like to write. I like to read and go back and reflect. I love being out in nature. So to sum it up, I like spending time in meditation. I like spending calm moments with myself. And I know I had to work to be in that space because sometimes it can be challenging being in your own space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get caught up in our own negative thoughts. And so that's something a skill I had to develop, finding peace being alone so that I can have those intimate thoughts with myself, with the Father. And those things that's when I brainstorm. That's when everything becomes more clear. I can strategize. And so I like committing my prayers to paper. Those kind of things always help me.
Love that. Love that approach. And again, for my listeners, I mean, this is the same person who told you in the beginning, I had no voice. And here she is today, using that voice in the biggest way possible, loud and clear, both verbally and in writing, just putting it out there. And so that's, when we go back to that beginnings, that's why that starting point, that beginning point is so critical because I'm sure it didn't make sense then, but as you shared earlier, it's like it begins to piece together. Okay, I had to start from a place where I had no voice. where I'm just looking out there. I'm just kind of in a daze, so to speak. And now here you are in a space where your voice, it's the drive of what you do. Your voice is the kicker. If you have no voice now, you can't walk in this vision. You can't walk in this purpose right now. So the voice that quote unquote you didn't have, or at least the world thought you didn't have, it was there. It was just it just had to be fine tuned. It had to be matured. It had to be built up to prepare you years later for what you're doing right now. Using that voice in a mighty, powerful way by way of teaching and coaching and encouraging and uplifting and inspiring. You know, God makes no mistakes. That was supposed to happen to get you here. Was it frustrating at times? Sure. Did it feel embarrassing at times? Did you feel alone? Did you feel isolated? Sure. But he held you. He kept you all through that. And now look at what's coming out. Look at what's been birthed from that. And it's still producing and producing and producing. So beautiful, beautiful. So Anna, if you had a chance, with all that you've shared and reflected on, you're at this stage and point in life, and you're reflecting on it all. If you had a chance to sit across from the younger Anna, that Anna who at one point was doing well career wise, but she was limited, the Anna who didn't know if she had a voice, the Anna that was embracing the fears that people were placing upon her. If you had a chance to talk to her, to give her some words of encouragement, or perhaps somebody that is currently right now the Anna you were, that they were letting people tell them what they could and couldn't do, that they were trying to define, they were putting caps on them, lids on them, making them feel like that they weren't valued and worthy or any of those things, that they could only go so far in life. What would be those words of encouragement that you would have to share to in hopes of inspiring and uplifting somebody that's in that space right now?
If I could say anything that could uplift and inspire someone, I would say listen to the voice within. I think all of us are searching for a space where we fit in, where we're comfortable, where we can relate. Well, I realize sometimes you have to create that on your own space. And so what I realized is if you're in a space where you don't fit in, you don't feel comfortable, maybe that's because you've outgrown that space, right? So listen to that voice and go big. That thing that you think you're not that great at, when we're looking for what's our purpose, what are we supposed to be doing? I hear so many people say, I'm searching for my passion. The secret is we all have the same purpose. We just fulfill it differently. We were all placed here to serve.
Mm.
We were all placed here to serve. And so whatever space you're filling, do it to the best of your ability. So if your gift is in speech, if it's speaking, if it's cooking, if it's talking, if it's dancing, whatever gift God has given you, do that to draw other people near, but do it to the best of your ability. If I could give anyone any encouraging thoughts, don't listen to the thoughts of self-doubt and all of that. What you need to do is fine tune and focus and go big. Increase your lid. Take the lid off. Because if he gives you the idea, there's no idea that's too big. He would not give you a vision you cannot fulfill. He would not give you a vision that he would not provide for you to see through. So just listen to him, stay focused, write, do some positive affirmations. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's great. That means you're growing. Mm-hmm. When you're in a space where you're stretching, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, that means you're about to explode. Keep stretching.
Love that. Love that. And I love that you highlighted that. If it feels uncomfortable to you as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's a good sign. That is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity. That's why oftentimes when I tell people talk about storms, I'm like, we've grown up thinking that storms are bad, but storms are really opportunities for us to grow, to develop, to be better versions of ourselves. And yeah, they're not going to always, as you're going through that journey, it's not going to always feel good. It's not going to always be convenient or what have you, but it's necessary. It's like working out. It's like, yeah, there's going to be some pain. There's going to be some little tiredness from time to time or whatever. But if you hang in there, you keep persevering, you keep your eyes on on him, knowing that he's not going to lead you down a path of destruction or a path of failure. He's already worked out a perfect, flawless plan. You just got to step in that thing and trust him along the way. And you'll begin to see the fruits of those labors. You'll begin to see the results start to manifest themselves. And that's exactly what you're speaking to. You just got to keep pressing through, pressing forward, pushing through. And just not letting the distractions and the outside noise again place those limitations, blow that lid up off, blow it completely up off of you, and just let your light shine in the greatest and magnificent way that it can possibly do. Don't worry about, do I have enough resources? Don't worry about that. He's gonna provide for you whatever you're lacking. He's gonna make sure you have. Am I smart
Absolutely.
enough? Do I have the team? Am I able to do this? Do I have the financial, you know, yeah, a true vision is going to be expensive. And you might not have the money today, but that doesn't mean that you won't have it or that you can't get it. Let him figure that out. He's got it figured out. In fact, he's just wanting you to step out on faith and be bold in what you're doing. And he's gonna funnel that. He's gonna connect you with that source, that's gonna provide you what you need, probably in your more than what you thought you needed. You thinking, oh, I'm only gonna get this, and he's gonna hit you with more than that. So powerful, powerful message in terms of your encouraging and pouring back to anybody that's in that situation right now can apply what you just shared immediately. So that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful. So Anna, it has been an awesome time having you on my podcast today, just pouring into us, blessing us, dropping the gems that you have dropped. But before I let you go, of course, it's customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I want to take an opportunity to celebrate you, to acknowledge you, to love on you. If you have anything that's going on that you'd like to share, again, personal or business wide, that is either going on right now, coming down the pipe, whatever that is, please share that with us so we can, again, acknowledge that, share that, become, aware of it. And of course, how do we connect with you and find out more or be a part of that? Please put it out there. Let's celebrate. It's celebrate Anna time. What we got going on?
Absolutely. I like celebrating others, but look, we can all connect. If you would like to reach out to me, follow me, message me if you need any help or advice, you can always find me on social media. I'm Anna C. Coby. That's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, all across the boards is Anna C. And you'll be able to find me. We're doing big things in the state of Alabama, but they're about to be even bigger. God's been working in our business, and with hopes, we're going to touch many more lives. I've been in this business since 2019. I've been an entrepreneur. I've had an agency operator for the last 2 years. So that means I've been creating income on my own dime. And so just being able to be in business for myself is an accomplishment that I'm extremely proud of. But something else that we have going on, we're about to be one of the biggest agencies in Alabama. Currently, we're number one in the state of Alabama for new agents. We're growing in licensing and codes. So in the financial industry, there's a lack. There's not a lot of minorities who are actually licensed to provide professional financial advice. And so I am proud to say that I am helping more people become licensed financial professionals, right? Because we need more people who look like us, who speak like us, to help us. Because a lot of times we feel like the resources aren't there because we don't see them. I remember growing up in a community where I didn't realize there was lack because that's all I saw. But if we had more people who were teaching us, educating us on creating wealth, we would have a wealthier community. So we're working really hard to double the size of our office in the next 6 months. I went from 3 licensed agents to currently now having 27. We're going to have over 90 by the end of the year. We're going to be able to service not only 50 families per month, but we're going to double that number as well. So we're doing some big things, and I'm looking forward to touching not just people in the state of Alabama. We're actually licensed to do business in all of North America. So not only that, I can service people in Puerto Rico, Canada, and all 50 states. And so we're able to educate, teach. We do free seminars. I love going to schools. I love going to churches. I do private webinars for companies and small groups. So the fact that we're growing at this pace, the fastest growing agency in Alabama, I am very proud to be one of the only female regional vice presidents in the office here at Hillcrest. And so I want to help more people grow in this space, in this industry, so that we can serve more people.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. So, for my listeners, if you want to learn more information about, being a licensed financial professional, connect with her. She'll be, as you can already see clearly, she has a heart for wanting to share and pour into you and teach you and show you the ropes of that. Of course, she also has products out. She spoke to about her journal and other items. Connect with her, get on board with that, be supportive of her and all that she's doing, and allow her the opportunity to do what God is calling her to do, is to serve and to be a blessing to others. And if she can equip you to do the same, then you just passing on that blessings to the next and to the next and to the next. So that's what we want to create, that chain of impact. Like she said, not just in the state, but nationwide. And allowing God to use us in our own respective ways. Like you said, we all have that passion already in us. It's just, that passion to serve. It's just, we just all serve in our own unique capacities and ways. And, it begins with, having God at the head of your life, but also allowing him to connect you with people like the Annas of the world that want to share, that's not just trying to keep it all to themselves. They want to share with other people. They want to see you prosper and benefit and be blessed and enjoy life and freedom and all of those things that we all strive to have, that abundance of life, if you will. So thank you so much, Anna, for, again, such a powerful
Thank you for
story,
having me.
for your sharing, for your transparency. You're always welcome back at any time, down the road. So consider that to be an open invite to you. And for my listeners, if you've enjoyed our episode this evening, the content that we've shared, the conversation that we've had, again, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is what it's all about. We want to use our stories, be transparent, be authentic, with the hopes of inspiring and encouraging and uplifting and pouring into others. That's what it's all about, as we've emphasized through the messaging of service. That's what God wants us to do, to serve others. But, please understand that when we speak about God, we don't speak about God lightly. This is not something in our experiences and our stories that we share. He's not somebody that we just heard about. He's somebody that we know personally. We have a relationship with. And so if you don't have a relationship with God, I encourage you, this will be a mighty fine day to make that happen. And I promise you, it'll be the best decision that you'll ever make. You don't have to go through your challenges and adversities in life by yourself. Why go through that? Why carry all that weight and burden? He didn't make us to do that. Yeah, he's equipped us with certain skill sets to be able to handle certain things, but only up to a point. He wants that relationship. He wants that dependency from us in him, because he loves us unconditionally. He wants nothing but the best for us. And so with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight. You keep persevering, pursuing that purpose, letting God be the head of your life, be your eyes and ears, and navigating you through the challenges and storms of life, knowing that he wants to be there with you through it all, because he loves you so much and wants nothing but the best for you. Wants you to have all the happiness and abundance and joy and peace that you can possibly consume. So until next time, you take care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you again.